has a chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast, and we've upset the big boys again. We took a 1-1 draw at home to Watford, which upset plenty of Watford fans, as you can expect. Some of them were more gracious than others in drawing, but we'll come on to all that nonsense. Danny is back with us. How's it going, Danny?
Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
Very well. And Mick is with us live from everybody's favourite venue, a car park in Wales.
Oh, yes.
He's back.
Let's crack on, because it's Sunday night, co-op shuts in a bit, and I need some beer.
You should have told me that. We don't even realise this every single time. We'll make the thing longer. It's fine.
Okay.
So thank you all for joining us. We've got Theo Liversidge, Russell Danny, S64 Million comment, Paul Brock, Gav Grundy, Damien, Steve Grundy's with us, Kim Hayward as well. Sorry, very with us as well. Phil Rawlinson starts off by saying, "Evening, lads. Is very disappointed yesterday. Should be beating teams like Watford, who can only muster 2 shots on target." I suppose let's start with that. We'll come on to the referees and all sorts of nonsense first. But first, Danny, it's a really good result. 1-1 draw against Watford at home. They've got some quality players in their team. We'll talk about the goal they scored in a minute, but that is a really, really good point.
Yeah, it is, and I think at times we frustrated them as well, which is good. It was just a good battling point. We were just very organised. We didn't let them get to us too much, apart from the build up to the goal, where I think we lost our heads a little bit. But I don't think that was because of Watford. It was because of a certain individual in the middle. But we'll get on. But I'm sure Mick will get onto that later. But yeah, it was just a good point. It's a team that's going to be up there. I mean, the table is more or less just starting to take shape, barring any disasters in form. And I think Watford will be knocking about round 4th come the end of the season. So for us to get a good point against them, a point which could have turned into 3 in another circumstance or world or whatever. But yeah, I'm happy with that. I would have took a point at kick-off, and we got 1 at full time, so I'm happy.
Mick, are you sort of on the same wavelength as Danny with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good result, good performance. You can't ask for any more than that, can you, really?
No, very succinctly put. Let's start with the second minute of the game. Richard Wood makes himself top scorer this season for Rotherham United. I think he's joint 3rd top scorer in the Championship so far. He's one of them people, Danny. It just feels like he's going to go on forever. And I know he's not, but I just can't imagine a day when Richard Wood's not around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's been at the club since what, 2014? Yeah. And he's been a mainstay in the team since at least 2017, I think it is. And yeah, like you say, it just feels like he's going to be here forever. And I think in one capacity or another, he probably will be now. And this season, someone's resurrected goal-scoring Richard, haven't they? Because he's just on fire, isn't he? He's just on fire to score. What is it? 4? Is it 4 goals? Yeah, 4 goals so far this season. It's like, wow, this is the Richard Woods of a few seasons ago where he loved scoring goals. And I have to admit, his celebration were absolutely incredible. the little goggles up to his eyes. I don't know if he was trying to emulate Ellen White or what, but I think he was looking for João Pedro and he found him in his pocket at the end of the game, to be honest.
This is another TikTok, or I don't know if it's TikTok or something else. It's the griddy. Is what it's called, apparently.
The griddy?
Apparently so, yeah. And if the best thing to do is Google the griddy dance. It's to do with I think it's from an NFL player. Gridiron. I assume it's something from that. We sat with Ben yesterday, Mick, and he didn't mention this.
No, he didn't.
Very disappointing. But it is another dance. I assume it's come from his kids again, which I love. I love that. To be fair, if I were his kid, I'd be doing exactly the same. I'd be getting to do stupid things every time he scores because why not?
Why wouldn't
you? Yeah. Let's break down the goal a little bit, Mick. Richard Wood couldn't believe his luck. He deserves a lot of credit because he saw the gap, he attacked the gap. But there's no way in a million years that he should have been given that time and space, and the keeper should have done better as well, probably.
It was just awful from Watford, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Utterly awful. I don't know whether it was complacency, whether it was just a bit too early in the game, or whether they're just a bit useless at back. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. If you take the goal in isolation, it's the latter, isn't it? They were a bit useless at back because there's no, like you quite rightly point out there is no way a team of that alleged quality should be letting a 37-year-old centre back have that amount of space in 6-yard box. Just awful defending. But thanks very much. You'll do for me.
Yeah, it wasn't. I still on instant reaction. It wasn't even a good cross by Wes. It was just a hit and hope ball into the middle, and again, Woody's just seen the gap and attacked it. And you've got to give credit, I suppose. Well, I suppose you've got to give Woody credit. But I agree. Watford will be very disappointed with themselves because that was massively avoidable.
Well, you said that, and they will be disappointed clearly, but. They and I think I said this on the post match as well. They look fragile. They look a fragile team.
Time. Yeah.
And it's no surprise to me that they've not set the world alight this season so far, based on that performance yesterday. Obviously, we can only go off that one performance, can't we? But they defensively. They can be got at, definitely, and to concede a goal of that nature just goes to prove that, doesn't it?
Yeah. For that first half an hour, we had them on ropes, and we should have, without really creating any clear-cut chances, I suppose. We didn't batter them in terms of shots, but they were under the cosh in terms of overall play that first half an hour, weren't they? I suppose you got to give credit to us. We started quick. Yeah, the goal was from poor defending, but we started like a train. And we just didn't give them a second, and it took a very, very, very good finish to get them back into the game. Because before the goal, they were nowhere near in the game, were they?
No, they weren't. And what we saw yesterday was the Rotherham United of every game this season, with the exception of Sunderland. High pressing, high pressure, energetic, strong, physical, but with some good football played in between as well. It was not any sort of hit and hope. The only hit and hope of the game was the cross from Wes, which really was just putting the ball back in the mixer. It wasn't, it wasn't intended. The outcome wasn't the intended outcome, was it? Necessarily. So yeah, listen, there's going to be a lot of teams this season who are in for a bit of a shock when they come to New York Stadium. So hopefully that continues for another 23 games at home. Oh, I think 23 now, is it? But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another 19 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Phil Robertson says he's back with to score. That's covered his gas bill for the month.
About a week, Phil. A month.
Month's ambitious. Mark Gambles with a great comment. Says Ailby took his 3-year-old to the first match on Saturday, saw Woody's goal, got too scared with noise and had to leave on 4 minutes. Brilliant. Paramount UK says on Watford, remember guys, Watford sold a lot of their players, 55 million from sales and spent 5 million. They aren't the same team they were. No, but they have, as Paul Warren alluded to, João Pedro is one of the best players, individually one of the best players in the division. Chowdhury's a very, very, very good midfielder. The guy who scored, I can't remember his name now. Bayo.
Yeah, Bayo. Yeah.
There was obviously issues defensively prior to the finish, but the finish itself was a stunning finish. They were. Let's give ourselves some credit, Dan, by saying that Watford are a very good team. I was impressed with parts of their play in the second half more than the first half. But they are a good team. That's still a very, very good point, getting something from a team like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very, very good point. A point against a team that's got a fair bit of money coming from a couple player sales, and I think they're wanting over 40 million or so for their. Well, they had that offer come in for their front two players that they turned down. So when you've got a strike pairing that's worth more than our stadium, it's going to be a good point, a good battling point against a team like that. But you can only play what's in front of you, really. It don't really matter how expensive a team is; it's how they turn up on the day. And barring a bit of quality from them for their goal, we more or less kept them at bay. They had a couple chances in the second half that came off the post, and as per with us in the Championship, we rode a luck a little bit. But other than that, we were just strong defensively. We had a good defensive back line. Still a bit 50-50 on playing out from the back, but I don't. It's something different, I suppose, and we have to give it chance. But in terms of just attacking the ball and creating chances for ourselves, we are still very good, and we create the chances. It's just now unlocking it to get a performance like Reading and finishing the chances, because we can't have Woody scoring bullet headers every week as much as he wants to. I don't think we can have that every week.
No, we do need to create more. I think there's interesting points here on the game itself. I think Bailey Vernon, as he noticed this year, the sort of game plans to hit teams full force for 45 to 60 minutes and then hold on, especially at home. Whether that's because of the opposition we faced, I don't know, but it definitely seemed to play that way. And Power UK follows on with what is going to be my point. Power says, I think if we wouldn't have played Wednesday, we could have won the game. Paul Wall mentioned this as post-match interview, Mick, and what happened, the fixture, how the fixtures played out have not been fair. Watford had a home game on Tuesday night, which includes 0 travel because it's a home game. And we played a day later with 4 hours travel, 2 hours to Sunderland, 2 hours back to Sunderland. So we have a day less plus extra travel time involved. How is that fair? If you're going to play on Saturday, both teams should have played on Wednesday or Tuesday. It doesn't make any sense from a what's the word the AFL use, integrity of the competition point of view. It doesn't make any sense. That's not fair that they had a full day to recover extra than us.
You would argue that all the teams that played Wednesday are in the same boat, though, aren't they? And there will be times.
Sunderland played today. There were 3 games on Sunday.
Right, fair dues. In that case, I'll
some of which were teams that played on Tuesday, which is a bit. Hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't. I mean, let me come from a different angle. Then don't expect any help from the EFL.
Yeah.
We've been here before.
Listen, there's no tinfoil hat here. It's not a conspiracy against Rotherham United. It just is what it is, and I'm sure over the season, over the course of the season, things like that should balance itself out. But let's not get too bogged down in it, because we didn't lose.
We didn't know, but it told in the game. And if you look at the second half, Danny, we just had no legs left in us. And you could say that's because Watford are a good team, and they are a good team. But the players were completely spent. And I don't know what else we can. We'll talk about Eves in a minute. And the substitutions probably didn't help. But he had to make the substitutions because the players were knackered. And if they had that extra day, they wouldn't be as knackered. Or if Watford had the same time, their players would be a bit more knackered. There's no sense to it for me.
Yeah, and I think even in what Paul Davis reported, saying that the players were just absolutely wiped out and exhausted at the end of the game. I think because there is so much passion in this team, which you can see how much passion there is just from how Victor celebrates his goals or chances or everything. If we miss a chance, it's close. He's on his knees with his hands on his head, which is great entertainment for the fans behind the goal, but it also shows how passionate he is. And if everyone's got on par passion levels as Victor does, then you can tell they're just giving 110% every time. And if you're doing that Wednesday and then Saturday, you're going to be absolutely wiped out, because that's just how we play. But yeah, I think the one criticism I have of the game is that I think the sub should have been made like 10 minutes earlier, just to keep that balance of just ticking over a little bit and keep it fresh. I mean, we only had fresh legs for like 10 so minutes because we made about 3 changes in that time. But bring them on 10 minutes earlier, something could have changed. But anyway, it's in the past. We'll leave it there. But yeah, I see what you mean about the whole integrity thing, because for us to play Wednesday, Saturday, and then some other teams have played Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday. It's a bit. Hang on a minute. Surely our game should have been put to Sunday when we've got the week off anyway. So we've not got a game until Sheffield United now. And then we're playing another Wednesday with Blackpool the week after. So I don't know if that has something to do with it or what. But anyway.
Well, on that one, we play the next midweek game is Blackpool next Wednesday, the 14th. We then play Middlesbrough on the Saturday. Middlesbrough will play on the Tuesday. So once again, our opposition getting extra days rest. Don't know. I think it's important. I don't think EFL care, but I think it's important. Extra 24 hours rest is important.
I think all I'll say for everybody who's watching, just nip to the shop and buy some tin foil, because we could get like this quite a lot this season. You know, what you wear your tin foil hats and go, yes, I agree, there's a conspiracy. We can add to the RUFC's conspiracy thread on Twitter. We've already got another refereeing performance to add on there. We might as well add just EFL's involved now. We just might as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about their goal, Mick. It came from playing out from the back. Paul Warden's spoken to Paul Davis, who's tweeted out the article today where basically says he's trying to develop the team, trying to progress the team, and that's one of the areas we want to try and do, not go as long. And rightly, so I completely understand. When you've got Chio and Washington up front, and you've got Cathcart as one of the defenders, you can't go long. It's just after, unless you're playing down the flank, you just can't go long. So you've got to do something else. But it did cost us on Saturday, didn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it did, because we lost possession and then obviously they scored. But that ball could have come from a long goal kick that their defender headed back into our half, and cross comes in and he still finishes it. Let's not take away from the fact that it was a peach of a cross and an absolute worldie of a finish. So that's one part of it. Is that the second goal we've conceded at New York Stadium this season?
Yes,
I think it is, isn't it?
In the league.
In the league, both of which were absolute world-class finishes, no question about it. So that's one part of it. Playing out from the back, I would have a problem with it if we were doing it every single time. If we were doing it 50% of the time, I'd have a problem with it. But we're not. We're picking and choosing. We're doing it very, very sporadically, if that's the right word. We're not doing it that much. So yeah, it's something that we need to add to our game. The vast majority of teams we play against during the course of this season are not going to be have the quality that Watford had, and have the quality that Sunderland showed. And for me, there's a distinction between those two on Wednesday when we did it. So I have no issue with it. Yeah, we're going to make some mistakes. However, it's just another little addition to the armory, isn't it, ultimately? So I ain't got a problem with it, to be honest. Mix it up. Just mix it up.
Yeah, I honestly, I agree. We've got to have several different bows to your string, Danny. You agree, or you think it should be knocked on the head?
I think we should play out from the back when we know 100% we can do it effectively, because some teams in this division do it effectively, and others, like, say, Swansea, for example, haven't really started doing it effectively, but have still tried it. I don't think it's an issue, because, like we say, it's switching it up, it's trying something different. The Watford manager actually praised us for trying that, because we play different ways, and I think he's one of the few managers that has sussed we aren't just a hoof-it long ball team. So actually, fair play to him for actually looking and studying his football. But yeah, that's how you pick up points in the Championship. You do it by being different, by being a little bit unpredictable. So if we can still have the stereotypical long ball technique, but also play it on the floor and play it out from midfield technique, which we've shown in some games, and then they'll pass it out from the back. It's just like, right, if that's not working, try that. If that don't work, try that. But then they'll think you play that way, and then you go back to your first option, like, oh no, they've changed the system again. So I think it is good, because it, like you say, it mixes it up. But we just need to stop making mistakes from doing it. So as soon as I get rid of the mistakes, I'll be like, yes, go for it. But then that comes in training, and we might not have been training like that for that long. It might just be something we're trying at the minute. And so far, it's okay until you make the mistake. But then just to criticise myself again, that happens with everything. It's okay until you make the mistake, isn't it?
True. Yeah, very true. Yeah, let's see how it goes on. If it costs us 5 more goals in the next 5 games, they will knock it around, won't they? They'd be daft not to. But let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope it can push us forward into further success. Because we're still unbeaten at home. What's that? 4 games unbeaten now at home. 8 points taken for a possible 12. That's still pretty good. Still a pretty good start. We're in double digits now. We're in double digits after 7 games now. We probably need less than 40 points between now and the end of the season to get us stay open. We've already got 10. So
I think the maddest stat is that we only need 13 more points to match our all-time worst record in the second tier. I don't know if that goes to show how good we are this season or how god-awful we were in 16-17.
We were bad.
Yeah, but double digits for a team of our calibre, if you like, in this league is very good. That's a very decent return after 7 games. Give it 10 games, see what our return is, and if it's still looking decent, then we're very optimistic for this season, I think.
Very much so. We will talk about the referee in a moment, but we're going to take a break from talking about the Rotherham men's team, and we're going to just mention on the Rotherham United women's team kicked off their season today. It was a 1-0 loss, I think, to Basford. Are we saying it's Basford, Nick?
I think it is, isn't it? That's how I pronounce it.
Basford. So that's not the great start, but it's good to see the season underway. I think they start this Sunday coming at home. They play at Roundwood on Sundays, so it doesn't clash with the men's game. I will double check the fixture list on that one. Actually, might be the following Sunday. I will double check that.
Their next game is against Mansfield. I know that much.
We'll check. We're on our next episode. We'll confirm that. We are going to start covering the women's team a bit more this season because we want to. That's it. So yeah, and we'd like to announce that we have decided to put in a player sponsorship for the women's team. We are going to be sponsoring the Rotherham United Women's Shot Stopper Georgia Ward. So couldn't keep a cliche today, unfortunately, but only 1-0. I'm sure they will come on the season, hopefully improve. And like I said, we'll talk about it more on the podcast. We'll give them the coverage that they should get as much as we possibly can. Certainly the home games that we can go to. Mick, Danny, anything you want to mention on the women's team starting their season today?
You want to go first, Mick?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're going to get ourselves down to Roundwood and support them. It's great that the club have taken this on, particularly, obviously. I mean, I know that the women's team's been going for a while now, but after the success of the England women's team over the summer, obviously the women's games are getting far more higher profile. So they need our support. They need our support, like any football club needs supporters. They need the money. They need the money through the gate. They need the supporters. So we're going to be backing them up all the way because at the end of the day, the Millers, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah,
we're in that Rotherham badge. You represent us, so.
Exactly. We've all been inspired a little bit by the Women's Euros, haven't we? And the feel-good factor it brought from women's football. So, yeah, we thought, right, how can we help out our own women's sides? And, so we've gone for the player sponsorship. And we'll be keeping a close eye on the women's team. And we're seeing more tweets from me about it as well. Because I'm now taking a keen interest in, you know what? I think they're actually all right.
100%. And I think, I remember they're hopefully on about playing a couple of games at New York Stadium throughout the season.
Yes, they are.
Which would be amazing. I know last season the women's team played Northampton at Northampton's ground at Sixfields. So it's good to see our club sort of taking on board what other clubs have done and playing at the men's stadium, bigger crowds in, etc. So yeah, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
So we're going to go from that nice positive conversation, and now we're going to talk about Lee Doughty, who was on Saturday afternoon. It's been a bad weekend for refereeing in general, across the football leagues, across the Premier League, and I meant to look it up earlier, Mick. I meant to look back at our episode we did pre-season, because we said that the new implementations of the rules would last a month and then they'll go back to normal, in terms of the physicality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a month and they've gone back to the old way of the implementation, including if you go from last Saturday to Wednesday to Saturday just gone. They've just gone backwards, and I don't understand it. It was so good. For the first time in this podcast, we've been praising referees on almost a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I know clowns like Lee Doughty just bafflingly. I don't understand. Go on.
Oh well, I don't understand either. I don't. Just the word that I complain about referees week after week is inconsistency, and that's all we had from him yesterday. Complete inconsistency. We picked up 4 bookings or 3 bookings. I can't remember.
4 in end, I think.
But it's 7 or 8 bookings in 2 games, and to be honest with you, out of those 7 or 8, 1 was a booking. One of them was a clear booking. The rest of them weren't even up for debate. They weren't even. You couldn't even have a conversation about any of the others. If you watch each of the incidents back, you can't even. There's no discussion to be had. Most of the times, they're not even fouls. Obviously, back to Peltier against Sunderland, but also yesterday as well. They're not even fouls, but yet we're getting yellow cards for them. The referee's performance yesterday was woeful. It was absolutely woeful, and it's sad to say. I know, and I have been criticised by people in the comments previously for my digs at referees, and I get it. I do understand. I do fully understand why people sort of, if you dip in and out of this podcast and hear me banging on about it, he's off again. He's off moaning about referees. Well, yeah, but it's a difficult job. We all know it's a difficult job, and probably none of us would stick our head above the parapet to do it. But on the flip side of that, when it comes to actually being a professional, being trained, doing the job week in, week out, you would think you would be able to maintain some level of consistency, at least over the period of 90 minutes, if not over the period of a couple of games. But the referees regularly operating within the Championship and Premier League that are unable to maintain a level of consistency over a period of 5 minutes. You get one challenge, which is penalised with a foul and a red card. 2 minutes later, you get this exact same challenge that's not even penalised. Nothing happens, and this is what frustrates people, and this is why referees get the abuse that they get at football matches, because they're not consistent. They change the tune for different teams. And that's not a tinfoil out. Oh, look at us, we're Rotherham United. We always get bad referees, because they're bad for everybody. It's not just us. I accept that, but there needs to be some sort of work done on the level of competency, and half the battle is clarity. It's clarity on what are the rules, how are we going to implement the rules, and how can we make the rules more simple for referees and everyone else to understand. It's all right at the beginning of the season saying, yeah, we're going to let the game flow. We're not going to give silly free kicks. Well, what does that mean specifically? What is a silly free kick? But yeah, yesterday, appalling, absolutely appalling. And there were no big decisions to be made, really, were there? And probably, well, I was going to say, arguably, there was one big decision to make, and that was the push from Peltier on one of the Watford players in the penalty area. Bramall, sorry, not Peltier, Bramall, on one of the Watford players, and he got that wrong. So there you go. But the point is, and the point I would make is, that if you take that incident and you look at that incident and watch it, Bramall's gone in behind their player, he's put his hands in his back, he's pushed him, he's gone over in the penalty area. He doesn't give a penalty, he doesn't give anything. He's already booked Ben Wiles, I think it was Wiles, but he was already booked Ben Wiles for a foul in inverted commas that was nowhere near as clear as that. So he's given the foul, he's booked the player, and it was just two players running at the side of each other. Consistency. That's all people want.
It is, and it's consistency within games. Then you can accept that last week's ref is going to be different from this week's ref. It's a different guy. That's fine. I can understand that. And there was a point at half time. When he came out from half time, he definitely changed the way he ref the game, because in the first half he was booking people very quickly, and the second half he stopped doing that. Now, on the face of it, that's a good thing because he has gone back to a more lenient way of refereeing. But then it's not fair because you're refereeing one game in two different ways. It's the consistency thing. There were so many fouls in the second half, which were worse than the fouls in the first half, that then weren't fouls, although he booked somebody at first half. This is a football problem. This is not just a wrong United problem. It is a footballing problem, as we've seen this weekend. But yeah, your views on Mr. Doughty's performance?
I think he got rumbled by Howard Webb at half time.
Maybe.
Yeah, for anybody who didn't know, Howard Webb was John Breckin's guest of honour in the hospitality suite for the game, and I reckon he'd watched that performance and he's gone, now then I'm going to go and have a word with him. Howard Webb was our Guy Branston character for that game, and it's like exactly what you said about that second half. It was just like he'd been replaced by somebody else because he just wasn't booking anybody at all. I think he booked like 2 Watford players. And it's like I said to my mate that you'll book all our players at first half and then book all Watford players at second half, and that's exactly what happened. I was very surprised he didn't give the penalty because that's exactly what that game needed. I think Watford winning it by a dirty penalty. But it's like one of their players went over in the box and another one went over, and I went, right, if it happens a third time, he'll give it. And then he gave one, and I thought, oh no, he's given a penalty, but it was a free kick on edge of box. It was like, that could be our bacon saved or cooked that. And thankfully, João Pedro, still in Woody's pocket, hit the wall, so that's all right.
Yeah,
but it's exactly that. You say it's consistency, and that's what we need. We need consistency and clarity, and we don't have it. And that's why referees interpret it so differently and then just keep messing up easy decisions. It's as if they're scared to make the hard decisions in case they get it wrong. Like, no, you are the person who is officiating this game. So it's your decision based on what you've read in the rule book to apply that to a game. If you think it's a foul, you give it as a foul. But then you have to be consistent with that throughout the game. If you give, say, a very easy foul in a booking, which I think he gave to Peltier in like the first 5 minutes, which is stupid, but then there's Chio running down the wing who gets hacked at and chopped down every single time, and it doesn't get given. And then there's one Watford player. It's like, oh, he's just caught me calf and he's gone down and won a free kick. That's not being consistent. That's borderline bias to the big team. But I have also noticed that the referees, when they have a decision to make, they tend to favour the bigger team, which is like, former Premier League team just come down. Oh, I'll give it them because they know how to play proper football, apparently. But anyway, that's very tinfoil hatty of me. But there is a trend developing. Keep watching. I'm telling you, there's a trend.
Yes, there is. Mick, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say he gave that free kick on the edge of the box, which wasn't a free kick. He clearly won the ball. And the referee was in a perfect position.
It was
absolutely perfectly positioned. Look, I know it's difficult. I know it's hard, and I've said that previously tonight. But just for God's sake, we need the PG or MOL or whatever. I don't know what they're called. They need to step up now because it's happening at every level. And it's not necessarily the referee's fault either. We've talked about this long and hard on the podcast over many months now. That they complicate the rules more and more and more. That make it so difficult to make those decisions in that instant. The decisions have got to be made in that instant, and they're giving referees far too much to consider. Far too much to think about before they give the decisions. And the Aston Villa game is Aston Villa Man City game. The offside that was given in that is a perfect example of that. You know, the linesman didn't know whether to put his flag up or not because is he offside? Well, do I let it go? Do we carry on? Then the referee blows, and if he hadn't blown, it would have been a goal because it had gone to VAR. It would have been offside. And they've got all these things to think about before they make those decisions. Make the decision, do it, because if the rules are clear, it's easy to do. So it's a combination of lots and lots of things. However, the inconsistency really is just about competency, and he made a run for his own back, as you said, Danny, there yesterday, by booking so many players in the first half. He had only two choices then for the rest of the game. That was either one, to send somebody off, or two, to be no longer consistent with the way he'd started the game. So anyway, it is what it is, isn't it? But it's not going to change. And I think somebody's put in the Richard Morris has put in the comments there. These lazy rest could send Rotherham down at the end of the season. I think we'll be too strong for that this season, but they did send us down last time we were in the Championship.
Yeah. Howard Webb was there yesterday as a guest of John Breckin. You got to wonder if that puts a thought into the referee's mind that his future boss is sat watching him. So he wants to make sure he gets everything by the book. And by the book means being a bit stricter in the first half. I don't know. I may be doing disservice to Lead Out. I don't think I am.
I don't think he had any clue Howard Webb was there until I had a word with him at half time. Because I saw a comment earlier saying he saw Howard Webb going down the tunnel to have a word with him. It's like, yep, your future boss has come and rumbled you, sunshine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right in a sense that he was trying to be by the book, but I don't know, football's a weird game. Like Mick said, it's open to interpretation with the rules, but being too by the book with football actually stops the game of football, if that makes sense. It stops it flowing. It's just very stop-start. And if you're going to play it by the book every single time, then what do they have VAR for in the Premier League?
But Danny, you're absolutely right. If that's the case, if playing it by the book stops the game and ruins the game, then the book's wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, the book's too complicated now. So
yeah, absolutely.
And so the complication stops it, which is then puts it back onto the referees for them to like, oh, it's your interpretation of these rules. But then by the book stops it. I don't know.
The rules aren't set by the PGMOL. They're not set by the FA. They're set by IFAB. So it's then down to each FA to have their own implementation and interpretation of the rules that have been set down by IFAB. And we'll see a different interpretation at the World Cup in 2 months' time or 3 months' time. We've spent too long. Any final points on refereeing before we move on?
It's a farce, mate. It's a farce. The organisation of it from the top is farcical.
That's why they're changing it, though. That's why Mike Riley's stepping down. That's why Howard Webb's coming in.
I know. I don't mean that. And I accept that. And I don't have any issue with the fact that they're trying to change it and trying to improve it. That's absolutely right, and so they should. But like you've just said there, they're hamstrung by the organisations in inverted commas above, in terms of how they write these rules and regulations. So on that basis, it's not going to change, is it? And all it's going to do is hang more and more referees out to dry, and it's going to make life very, very difficult for them because they're going to be getting on it. Everybody's going to be getting on their backs because what they've done is they've brought in an element of discretion into the application of the rules, and as soon as you bring that in, what discretion is one person's opinion against another.
Yeah, but up until last Saturday, up until Gavin Ward rocked up to New York Stadium, the refereeing had been good in the Premier League and the Championship. The refereeing I watched this season had been good. Something's changed again. That's the problem. So what we've seen is there is a way within the rules to have good football. We've seen that for the first month of the season. Yeah, there were some moments where some things were let go and whatnot, but for the most part, we've seen 3 or 4 weeks of brilliant football helped by good refereeing. We're now going backwards again, so there is room within the rules to have what we want. It's the referees have got to have the courage to keep doing that. I don't know why they stopped doing that. There is room and there clearly is access to do what we're asking because they have done it.
I would argue nothing has changed, Matt, because what we said every single season, we bring in something that we're going to change this season. Whatever season it is, we're going to concentrate on X, Y, or Z. And by 5 games in, we've forgotten all about it. Every single season, without fail, we revert back to the way it was. So it's great. Howard's taking over. He's a strong character, Howard, and hopefully, he loves the game. We know he does, and he's a hugely experienced referee. Hopefully, he'll be able to bring some sort of stability and some sort of consistency to refereeing. And he's a Miller, so you know what I mean. He's got his head screwed on properly. So
yeah, let's move on. Because I'm sure we'll talk about referees in 7 days' time again. Let's talk about some positives. There's a couple of issues, but let's talk about some more positive performances, Danny, because there were several. I'll give you your pick. You can either talk about Cohen Bramall or Ollie Rathbone to start with, Danny. Which one would you prefer to start with?
I will start with Cohen Bramall, I think. To say he was amongst the injuries before kickoff, or before the team was announced. He's come in and absolutely torn up that left side, hasn't he? He was unplayable at times. Needs to work on his crossing probably just a little bit. But his speed down that left-hand side is incredible. And I think any team in the Championship now looks at our wing-backs in Bramall and Norton Cuffy and goes, wow, they are quick. I mean, Watford's right-back was quick. Yeah, but he had his work cut out for Bramall, both at full pace. They were more or less matching each other, and Bramall did have half a yard on him a few times. But yeah, to say he's come in and put in that sort of performance, fair play to him. And I think if we're trying to kill a team off with pace, Bramall and Norton Cuffy are first names on the team sheet, probably just behind Chio, I think. But yeah, exquisite from him. Fair play to him. I hope it carries on, and I hope he doesn't pull his hamstring again.
Yeah, we were told by Lincoln fans, or not told, but on the social media perception, Mick, of Cohen Bramall is very, very quick, but that's it. The consensus was he's not very good at defending, and he can't cross the ball. I agree with Danny, he does need to improve on that, but at times he has put some brilliant crosses in, and so far defensively, he's been sound. He's been solid as a rock. So far, there isn't really a downside to him yet.
No, and that may have been the case when he were at Lincoln. That may have been the case when he started at Lincoln, and he would have developed and continued to improve. And he's come here and he's getting coaching at a higher level. He's playing at a higher level. He's playing at a level where he's going to get more time on the ball. He's going to get more space to run into because that's how the Championship is. But he's a young lad and he will develop. So yeah, you're right. His crossing's not brilliant. His defending certainly is. It would appear to certainly have improved since he left Lincoln. If that's the case, if he was bad there, he's not been bad here. So, but he's a young lad and he'll continue to develop. He's a hell of a prospect. He has so much pace, and yeah, he's a hell of a player. He's a great player, great acquisition. So there's nothing to not like about the lad.
Yeah, I think when we played Port Vale, Ryan Cresswell made a very good point that he didn't play particularly well against Port Vale, and sometimes players need to play against better opposition so they're fully concentrated all the time. And that's what we've seen in the Championship so far, Danny. You don't have a second, really, when you're a Rotherham United defender. You've got to be on it all the time, whether you're pumping up the pitch to get the cross in or pumping back. You've got to be on it 110% of your time almost. Whereas against teams like Port Vale and Morecambe, you get more time to sort of forget your place and do things like that. So maybe that's a step up. He's enjoying that battle and that challenge, and maybe that's improving him.
Yeah, I think so. I think, especially this season, I don't know, there seems to be almost a mindset of we've got bigger fish to fry this season. Like with Port Vale and Morecambe, some players didn't put in the best performances against those two teams. But when it came to the games against the other teams in the league, they've stepped up another level. Could be a confidence thing of I can put in a shift against these teams. But for me, it's just looking at what's in front of it. It's like Woody said with pre-season. He's not really that bothered about pre-season, but he gets really stuck in when it comes to league stuff. And I think we've seen that. I think we've seen a lot of players step up and go, yeah, we're not scared of you, and we're still going to put in a good shift against you, which I think is our mentality this season. And it's probably one aspect that's allowed us to perform very well so far is that thing of we're going to stand up to you because we're not scared of you. You know, we belong in this division, so we're going to stand up to you. And we've just done that, with the exception of the second half against Sunderland. We have done that this season.
Yeah, we have. Donna Almery says Sonic is Bramall. Nottingham Cuffy also looks getting better and better. Even took a shot yesterday. Yes, he did. Pamad UK. The water isn't for the players to drink; it's to put out the fire on Nottingham Cuffy and Bramall's boots. I like that. And we're not going to talk about. We're talking about Nottingham Cuffy a lot. We're going to give him an episode off praising him, although it was outstanding. We'll leave it with Brian Allen. Says Nottingham Cuffy outstanding. He's got all 18-year-old and can only get better.
Only 18. Jesus Christ.
Not fair. The wing backs are frightening. Those two. So that is brilliant. On to Ollie Rathburn. I got a comment that says Ollie's missus needs to give him Monday off. 5k around IKEA will not be good for him. What I would say though is if I was going to IKEA, I'd want Ollie Rathburn to come with me. You would need that energy. If you're going to go around IKEA, you need somebody who's not going to stop. Ollie Rathburn is your man to go around IKEA with you, I think.
I tell you what, he'll be quick at assembling furniture though, won't he?
Exactly. Yeah, and if he gets it wrong, it's fine. He'll keep going until he gets it right.
If he gets it wrong, he'll just kick it into oblivion.
I don't know if you've seen it, but you know the Lego World games, how they build stuff really quickly. That is legit Ollie Rathburn building IKEA furniture. He just sits there and just builds it and off he goes. But like Mick says, if it goes wrong or it looks wrong, he'll just kick it into oblivion and it'll go up over the stadium, which I'm still waiting for, by the way. I'm waiting for an Ollie Rathburn clearance that clears the East Stand. I want to see it at least once this season.
It'll come. It'll happen. I think it won man of the match in the stadium, Mick, Ollie Rathburn. And there are you had questions at the start of the season. You were sort of worried a little bit that the championship referees wouldn't suit him because he's aggressive. He tries he's at the ankles all the time. But he hasn't. I don't know whether he has changed his game a little bit to be a bit more clever or whether the referees are playing his hands on it. I don't know. But he has been brilliant and he's keeping Lindsay out of the team, which is really important for Lindsay because he doesn't deserve it. But Rathburn's been a sensation.
Yeah, he's developing again. He's another one that's developing as a player, and he's polishing his art, if you like. You know, he's been outstanding, and this is the man. I assumed you'd come to me because I said on after the Sunderland game about the fact that maybe his performance in midfield made that midfield a bit chaotic and made him lose the shape. Well, they didn't lose the shape on Saturday, so clearly that was wrong. I have to stick my hand up to that and say, we're way off the mark with that. We love Ollie Rathbone, don't we? And like you've just alluded to there, you know, if he gets injured or he has to go off or whatever, we can just bring Jamie Lindsay on, who is essentially the same player. I do feel for Jamie because he's such a good player and probably, arguably, more suited to the Championship than Ollie Rathbone has been so far. But yeah, what a performance! Great, absolute terrier, and just epitomises everything that this team is about.
Yeah, I love his the way he winds the opposition up, Danny, as well. You know, he fouled somebody and just ran past them and just patted them on stomach and just said, "I got you all that time." No, I just love that side of his game as well. It's good to have that kind of player, or that. Not only the energy, but also that side as well is quite important.
Yeah, I love him, mate. Ollie Rathburn's the sort of a character that you want to take for a pint purely because he loves winding people up. But he's also the first man in whenever there's a bad foul. He's always the first man in, either checking he's all right or having a go at the referee saying, you can't let that carry on, you know. It might get him a few bookings this season, having to do at the referee. I know we saw Marlassa get booked against Sunderland, which is sort of understandable, him being a Geordie. But with Ollie Rathbone, he's straight into the referee and he's proper having a go sometimes. And there was one instance, I think, after he'd been booked, where we had a proper go at the referee, and it's like, oh no, Ollie's going to get himself sent off. Oh no, here we go. But yeah, I love him. Warner described Peltier as feisty, but Ollie Rathbone's just that as well. He's feisty. He's feisty, and he just runs and runs and runs. I mean, even if his missus has got him doing 5K in IKEA on Monday, he'll be fine with that. He'll be just like, right, there's another training session.
Yeah, he's got also available. I think it was his 200th league appearance on Saturday overall for us and Rochdale combined. He's going to be one of them players in 7 or 8 years' time. He's going to be such a professional to have at a club. He's already a brilliant player, but he's going to build into a leader, which I think he sort of almost is as well.
He'll turn into some sort of Frecklington sort of character.
Agree.
I think.
Completely agree. Kim Hayward is the Duracell bunny, which he is.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let's move on to a sort of negative. Ben Wiles is sort of a hot topic, really, Mick. Didn't have his best game, and I thought it was better. I thought it was better Saturday than it was against Sunderland. I thought it was much better because I didn't think it was very good against Sunderland. But he's still trying. I think I said to you yesterday, I think he just needs taking out a fire line just for a game. Everything he's trying to do is mostly the right idea. He's trying to take a touch here and there. He's trying to play a pass here and there. It's just not working for him. I feel like he just needs a minute away from the team, and then he'll come back in a brilliant play. We know what Wiles is like. We know how strong he is mentally, but we've still got to. For me, I would like to see him given time to get his head right, because he doesn't look right at the minute.
Yeah, it's not coming off for him, is it, at the moment? And as a consequence of that, some fans are getting on his back. You don't become a bad player overnight, but you do lose form occasionally. And he is out of touch. There's no question about that. I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure Warney can see that. I don't know whether Warney. I mean, I suggested to you that yesterday perhaps he should be given a bit more time to play himself back into form. We don't really have that. I know, I accept that, and that's just more a bit of sort of nostalgia is not the right word, but whatever the word is, you know what I mean. From my point of view, that I just want him to do as well as he possibly can for the club and for himself, and he will. I can see the argument for dropping him for a game. I can see that, but you know, we've got Sheffield United away coming up, we've got Middlesbrough away coming up, 2 really tough games, and players like Ben Wiles could be game changers in matches like that. So to take that decision to pull him out of the squad and bring in somebody with the greatest respect to Jamie Lindsay, he doesn't have the creativity or the or create the danger that Ben Wiles can create. So I'm not convinced that that either of those 2 games are the right ones to rest him. Possibly the Blackpool game might be, but I can't see him being out of the game on Saturday. I fully expect him to be in the team against Sheffield United. But I do agree he's not performing at his best at all at the moment. It's one for Warney that to deal with, isn't it?
A few comments. We have Tibet. Somebody said Ben hasn't had a good game in a while. Brian Allett says he likes Ben, but he's a good kick at the backside, and he's taken out of the game, so we get the best out of him. I think he's had his head turned. He thinks he's had a head turned. Now the window is shut, and he's put his head in the right place. Danny, we talked about it on Wednesday. We've got to talk about it now. There was an improvement, and I think that's important to point out. He was definitely a better. This was more of it just not coming. So maybe it's just trying too hard. We've seen that in the past with somebody last season. I can't remember who it was now, but maybe it was just trying a bit too hard. And if you do that, it's not going to come off you, is it? You need to just sort of relax and play your game.
Yeah. Excuse me. I think the thing with Wiles is that he's got the talent in him, but he just needs to unlock it. And unfortunately, he hasn't found the key yet. And that was a very good analogy. I'm quite proud of myself for that one. But compare that to last season, he unlocked it straight away with a very strong performance against Plymouth. But with this season, he's not quite found it yet, which is no fault of his own. He's just still trying and to get it going. And yeah, maybe he needs a little bit of time on the bench, as if to go, right, you need to start being a bit smarter about it and like being a bit more looser with it and not trying as hard. But at the same time, like Mick says, I wouldn't take him out of the game against Sheffield United because it's big games like that where Wiles sort of tends to come alive in it. If that makes sense. And, you know, a local derby, I mean, compare it to how he played against Sheff Wednesday away. He were very, very strong in that game. So it could be the same case, should I say. But yeah, I think with Wilesy, it's just, he does boil down to he is trying too hard. He's trying too hard to play as well as he knows he can. But sometimes you just need to take a step back, be on the bench and reevaluate yourself. And I think you've hit it perfectly, Mick. I'd rest him for the Blackpool game. Just give him a little bit of time just to settle and look at the game and how we play and how he then fits into it. And it should be all right. And now that we've said that, he's going to score against Sheffield United, isn't he? To make us look all books.
Yeah. Paul Brock says that Wiles just needs a goal or an assist to get his confidence back up. Yeah, I think you're probably 100%. Right. If he taps one in, I think he'll be away. The problem is just it doesn't look like doing that at the minute. It'll come good. Whether it takes
so
game
close.
Or 10 games.
It was so close to unlocking it in the second half. The ball fell for him perfectly. The defence opened up for him.
Yeah.
But then he perfectly showed what's the matter with him, if you like, to put it that way. That he just hasn't unlocked it yet. Because it all separated and worked out beautifully for him. And he just miscues the shot. And you've heard the frustration because it's like, oh, that was it. That felt like that was Wiles' winning moment. But it just hasn't come off for him yet. I don't think it's a case of his head being turned. I don't think it is. I think every player is committed to this team, and it just shows that we had no bids for any of our key players on opening day, so we've already put that message out. Yeah, you're not going to have them anyway. And Warney will instill it back into him like, right, you are here until at least January. He wouldn't have worded it like that, but in the sense of you're here, you're our players, and we put in all this effort. And I think Wilesy is trying to put too much effort in. And I think that's all it boils down to. He just, like one comment said, Brian Elliott, Les like Ben, he likes Ben, but he just needs a kick up the arse. Exactly that. Yeah. But not a literal kick up the arse, because he might be out injured for a little bit. But
yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll preview the Sheffield United game next episode. Jamie says he thought Scott High looked better when he came on. Yeah, mate, this was the first time Scott High's come on, and I thought, God, yeah, there's a player there. He got stuck in a little bit. He looked a bit more composed on the ball. He's still got a way to go, but that's now got to be his start point.
Yeah, I mean, he's a work in progress as a young kid, isn't he? And we said this after the Sunderland game when he was pretty ineffective. There's definitely a player in there without a shadow of a doubt. You know, he's going to be a slow burner. I think probably by the time he gets back to Huddersfield at the end of the season, then he might be, he will be a decent player. He will be a good player. And maybe once we've got there, we'll get him back because Huddersfield don't seem to like to keep decent players, do they? They seem to just want to ship them out on loan or get rid of them. So, which is great for us, you know. Happy days, but yeah. He's got a lot to learn. It's a big step up for him. He's a championship, no question about that. And age, I think, plays a big part in it for Scott High.
Yeah, no, it does. I agree. We haven't really mentioned Peltier when we should have done. I thought Peltier's been. He's already. If he keeps going the way he's going, he'll be on contention for winning our signing of the season award because he's been brilliant so far. Grant Hall is injured and is now a doubt for the Sheffield United game, which again we'll cover as we get near the time. Is there any other one you meant to mention? We can mention Victor again. Victor pulled up a really good save or two. Still waiting for that Swedish call up, which could come. You never know. They've announced the squads in a week or two. If Victor gets called up, how much credit are we taking for that one? Sure
that's all ours. That's all ours, that mate.
Yeah, none for Victor, all for us. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, Victor gets the playing credit. We just get the in the public eye credit, shall we say?
Yeah.
Implying that there's lots of members of public watch this podcast.
Hello, Sweden.
You are aware that all this is photoshopped and I'm putting all these comments on here, aren't you? There's nobody listening.
Shh, the Swedish FA don't know that, mate. Be quiet.
Yeah.
Well, they're not listening either.
You never know.
You never know. Brian Allen says Victor was outstanding on Saturday, and the rest of the games. Yeah, it's been brilliant so far. Let's have a little tiny transfer window deadline day wrap up. No signings on deadline day. We signed the keeper, third choice keeper, on Friday. That was confirmed. He was a free agent, so you could sign him after. Jamie asks, what are your thoughts on Reg going to Wigan? Danny, I'm not going to lie, hurts because I love Reg, but at the same time, I'm very happy with the central defenders we've already got. Would he be an improvement on Cameron Humphreys and James Peltier? Lee Peltier, not James, Lee. To be honest with you, I think we've probably got better than Reg.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. It could also come down to a blessing in disguise. For example, Michael Smith and Michael Ekway leaving for them up the road. It's sort of turned into a blessing in disguise because now they're not quite doing as well as they'd like to. But we're off and away sort of in the Championship. The same with Reg. It was explored to bring him back. Warney has admitted that. But we'd already brought people in because he just wasn't available at the time. And I think that's it. Huddersfield thought it was in their plans and now isn't. Thought he'd get him out on loan to us. And it's just like, we've moved on. Unfortunately, we've got Humphreys in, who I think will work out to be a better defender. We've got Peltier in, like I say, who's the experience, and Grant Hall and all of those who've come in. And unfortunately, you snooze, you lose. You know, you weren't available when we needed you, so we've moved on. Whoops.
Yeah. Completely agree. Mick, there was a minor meltdown on everybody. You know, after Paul one told us we weren't going to sign anybody, we then didn't sign anybody, and everybody was upset.
Just wait. That's all I'll say. Just wait.
We've still had a good window. Maybe Thursday wasn't the best time to tell everybody this, but I am very happy with our transfer window. You can always do better. Obviously, you can always do better, but our transfer window has maybe been the best it's been since in a promotion season. You know, going into a new Championship season, having come from League One. I can't think of a better one.
No, I can't either. I can't. Just to let's put it into some sort of perspective, you know, because we also some of the comments, some of the kind of knee-jerk comments after the transfer window closed and we'd not signed anybody. You know, Tony Stewart tightwad, not getting his hand in his pocket. He promised this and he promised that, which he did. He promised investment. And he hadn't done it. Well, we don't know whether he hadn't done it, do we? Because we don't know. It's not all about signing players. We've made 10 signings, probably paid next to note for any of them, if we've paid anything at all. But the wage bill will have increased significantly. That is also part of the investment. And just if you put this figure, I'll give you the figure and this will put it into some sort of perspective. If you look at the figure of £104 million, £104 million, that is the difference in the value of squads between those two teams that took the field on Saturday. Those two teams that drew one apiece. Those two teams that you couldn't really get a fag paper in between in terms of performance, and the result proved that you couldn't get a fag paper in between it. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's not about how much you spend on players. That's just willy waving, isn't it? That's just look. Mine's bigger than yours. Is that all that is? So we had a great transfer window, and we spent nothing. Watford don't think they had a great transfer window, and they spent £5 million or more. And sold 50 million quid's worth, and they don't think they had a good transfer window. We're a much better side than we were last season. The team at the top of that league of money spent or value a squad, well, there's nothing to choose when the two teams meet. So transfer window's been excellent for us, mate. For me.
I agree. Completely agree. Chillstone rightly points out it's all about desire, and so far they are proving they have it. Exactly right. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on.
Again, I know the transfer window's shut and all that, but all I'll say is just you wait. I have heard things about potential 1 or 2 free agents. So just you wait. If they come off, it's fantastic. If not, unlucky. But just you wait.
If this is what we've got, but for between now and January, that's fine. You've got to bear in mind, January sounds like it's quite a long way away. Bear in mind, we lose a month of that time because of the World Cup. So this isn't just September to January. It's really only September to December or October to January, whichever way you want to look at it. We'll lose a month of that time. So if the squad isn't good enough now, it's fine because we haven't got that long to go before we can start signing players again. Yeah. Just chill, guys.
Still, just you wait. It don't even have to be January. Just you wait.
Kim Hayward rightly points out it's not about that size; it's how it's used. Yes, Watford, correct. There you go.
So,
I was. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I've just seen Donna's comment. Spill the tea. Don't keep it for yourself. Unfortunately, I can't say anything about these signings because it is a private conversation. But the names that I've been talking about with my contact, shall we say, to make it sound official.
Sources.
Yeah, my sources. It's HP and ketchup this week. But yeah, just you wait. You'll be surprised with one of them if it really does come off, and then the other one is a surprise, but that's more of a battle with somebody else as well. But yeah. Just it's even though we had a quiet deadline day, it's not to say stuff didn't happen on deadline day. And the people who spotted this certain player at New York know who exactly I'm on about. And it's just been slowly ticking over because free agents and all that. But yeah, that's all I'll say. Just you wait.
Remember, free agents can sign at any point. I think there was a cut-off in like November or December. But the free transfer window is open. So who knows? Danny, we need to give ourselves a royal pat on the back because we got the correct prediction for that one for Saturday's 1-1 draw.
See what happens when I don't get peer pressure by the comment section. I get the result right, and it's a positive one.
And also, I went on the guy we had on the preview show from Do Not Scratch Rights podcast. I went on their podcast predicting 1-1. Apparently, I'm the first away fan to get a prediction correct on their podcast. So Rotherham United strike again. This is me representing the club, and we got one right. So, yes.
Excellent.
Make unlucky. You didn't get this one right.
Yeah, I nearly did, though.
Did you?
I predicted a 2-1 win to us with sneaking a injury time winner.
You did.
So
unlucky. Carl, who we had on, predicted 3-1 to Watford, which obviously was quite far wrong. Anything else we need to quickly mention? Cover anything else?
I just want to. I mean, when we're talking about referees, Mike 61 Miller put in, whilst accepting that all you guys are entitled to your view, as a former ref up to semi-pro level, I wish fans would try a stint in the middle themselves. It might just alter a view or two. And yeah, listen, Mike, I'm 100%. I agree with you. We do bang on about it, and I will stop now. But I won't. It is an incredibly difficult job, and I don't necessarily blame the referees at all the time. But there are times when we do. It's part and parcel of football, I guess that is. But it's a difficult job, and I certainly wouldn't want to do it. I've got the quickness of mind, quickness of thought to be able to perform that role. So it's an hard job, and long may people continue to do it, but they need some help.
Yeah. It may be a hard job, but you've still got to do it right.
Yeah.
Just because it's hard, don't mean you can just, float along and do it wrong. You've still got to get it right at this level. we've gone over all ground. But yeah, I agree. Danny, anything else?
No, just keep your eyes out for a free agent.
Oh, Danny, the tease. So we will finish there. Words have been mixed up this weekend. We will be back on.
Are we doing the preview for Sheffield United this episode, or is that in the week?
Thursday.
My bad. I thought we forgot score predictions. My bad.
We'll be back on Thursday evening for the podcast for YouTube, Friday morning for the audio podcast, where we'll be looking ahead to Sheffield United away first and only South Yorkshire derby of this season. Nobody else fancies joining us in the Championship.
It's not for everybody, mate.
Not for everybody, Championship. Right
now, don't start upsetting people. We already know they watch our podcast to see how they get in on. So don't upset them.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Actually, just a quick congratulations to Barnsley for Saturday as well.
Actually, yeah, fair point.
You're not allowed. You'll be called obsessed if you talk about clubs that are in our division.
I know. Just cheers me up a bit.
Yeah. We'll try and get a fan on to do the scouting report as we normally do, and then we'll look ahead. Like I said, first South Yorkshire derby. Then we're only a week away from the international break. 3 more games, and we've got another couple of weeks off. So that's exciting, isn't it? Thank you all for watching. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe. We're 3 off 700 subscribers on YouTube. If you haven't already, please do subscribe on YouTube to try and get us over that mark. Danny, the vlog out Monday morning.
Yes, vlog out Monday morning.
Did you put the video up of the pie review from Sunderland?
I will be putting those up shortly. It will be Preston, QPR, and Sunderland's pie reviews. There's been a little bit of editing. I'm going to try something new. Like just put the pie reviews up separately, so you can just see me banging on about a pie. But all I'll say is that the Sunderland one was very good. Ooh. It was the only good thing about that away game. To be fair,
you couldn't possibly get more Yorkshire, could you, than a pie review?
It could be worse. I could start doing sausage roll reviews.
Well,
that's next season.
Premier League sausage roll reviews.
When you go to Bramble Lane, you'll be getting some Hendersons with your pie as well. So it can only be a good thing.
Aye.
If you haven't already subscribed on audio, please do so on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Please do subscribe there as well. Mick, it's been a pleasure. How was the car park been? Nice and quiet today?
Yeah, nobody here today, mate. It's Sunday night, isn't it? But Thursday might be a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah, you're there again for Thursday's episode?
I am, mate, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Hey.
That's exciting.
I booked my parking spot.
Fair enough. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you on Thursday evening or Friday morning. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Ravel, vicious, brilliant. Mule with it. Wood's got around the back, and Richie Wood has done it again. The magic man has come up with another trick. Well, here's a chance to seal it. It's done.